It's time to be woke, take off your shades, it helps see through the smoke, cause the wicked hide behind the cloak, and if you stay in the mist, you gon' be soaked, so listen up, cause this hair of the dog, what's real, what ain't, is this the fog or smog, cause there's a difference when you breathe it in, so don't let the corporate media take you for a spin, this that morning show, they put you in the know, so I hope that you ready, cause all we do is go, 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 yeah, come get your info, you gon' be like, whoa. Dog, we bout that, ayy. We in the zone, we out here, yeah. Speeding the fact.
Good morning, people. Welcome to Hair of the Dog. I'm Andy Kennedy, and it is Wednesday. It is a lovely day here in Canada. We are continue to be in lockdown in the province of Ontario, and I am 2 steps before total madness. And that's all I have to say about that. I'm going to now introduce my co-host, the lovely and talented Miss Carrie Barber. Good morning, Carrie.
Good morning, Andy. I am so sorry that you are still in lockdown. We here in New Mexico, we are kicking ass with our vaccines here because we have them available. So my apologies to the rest of the world. But we are leading the country in total vaccination. So we are getting ready to open back up. And I am delighted so that I get to explore my new adopted state and all that it has available. So yeah, if you're not vaccinated and you have that ability, please consider doing so that we can move forward maybe just a little bit. But before we get to our fantastic guest this morning, there are a couple things that I wanted to talk about. So number one, last week we had Rome Bethea while he was in Florida on his tour for the poor. If you're not aware of what he's doing, this guy is going, he has plans to go across the entire country and talk to marginalized, homeless, all of the folks around the country. And there's so many of us who just need a break. And he is going there with a very positive message, as well as bringing necessities, diapers, wipes, food, clothing, shoes, all of these. He's bringing it with him. He's just a regular guy. And he's decided enough is enough. People need to know that someone still cares. So I posted links to help him out, right? So if you can't drop what you're doing and follow Rome around the country, you can maybe donate $1, $5, do what you can. So his links are right there. This morning, he posted a video asking for $537, very specific number. And the reason for that was he purchased diapers and wipes and things like this for his upcoming trip to Ohio. So this is, again, Rome's tour for the poor, and it's going to hit Lucas County, that is Toledo, the Toledo area. And he'll be going to multiple locations. So it's a Rome spotting event too. So if you should see him, snap a selfie and let everybody know that you got to see Rome, help him out, cheer him on, and then, be kind to your neighbors. So that's the first one that I wanted to put out there. So please help Mr. Rome.
Yes, absolutely. Amazing guy and a wonderful campaign. And this is all, everything that he gets goes to the people. This is not to enrich himself in any way. He is not, the only thing he is doing is gathering enough money to travel, right? And while he's taking all of these things to these different locations, his extra charges on the plane are just outrageous.
Which I haven't gotten the bill for that one yet, but we'll see.
It's coming.
Goodness. I'm like, oh, camel, what happened? So that's the big one. And then the other one, if you've been following along, we did a special report on Tuesday. I was shocked and amazed to be able to get an interview with a gentleman in Gaza, Palestinian gentleman. If you haven't seen that, please go take a look. And I am constantly seeing all of these. I'm not sure if they're real profiles or what's going on, because we know that Modi from India, his folks, are being paid to tweet in defense of genocide. So be aware of that. But particularly on Facebook, if you're going, well, there's both sides and Hamas, then you're not really paying attention, because the US top diplomats are pushing back on that. In fact, the head of the State Department has already issued a statement putting his career on the line to speak truth to power, which is unheard of. In my lifetime, I've never seen that happen, where the top diplomat went against the current administration and the powers that be to say, no, here's what we're seeing, and there's no evidence of X, Y, and Z. So I am preparing. I have been working with journalists in the Middle East, in Gaza, and looking at what the Israeli machine is putting out. And I got to tell you, we have data now in the headers of videos and images that shows us exactly where it originated from. So I will bring all of that to you on Friday, all of the evidence that we're finding. And I'm trying to be objective, but the weight is so heavy for the evidence on one side that pushes back against the propaganda that everybody's talking about this particular conflict in Palestine and Israel, but they're not really bringing the hardcore data. And that is what I want to share with you. It's available, and I'm just a curator in this, working with other journalists. So I will cite all of my sources whenever possible, unless it puts that source at risk. And that's what we're seeing. Journalists are actually being targeted right now.
So Carrie, I just wanted to say kudos to you, because I thought that the interview was wonderfully done. You did a really good job, and just so heartfelt. When you see this, please watch this interview. The gentleman, Jason, who is being interviewed, it becomes very emotional because of what he's going through in the evenings when he and his family huddle in their basement and hear the shells hitting the area of his neighborhood, and the sounds getting quieter and then louder, and him having to cover the ears of his young daughters while they cower down there. It is so emotional, and it just brings it home. You can't watch that and not feel for these people. Imagine putting yourself in the shoes of those families that are being targeted just because of who they are and not what they've done. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and during that particular interview, there are moments where I come off as kind of unemotional, and I got to say, as a journalist, I'm trying to hold it together because the story is his. I am just the person helping to facilitate him telling a story, but there were moments where I started to crack a little bit, and I'm not gonna lie, after that interview, I ugly cried, because I have personally been in that situation, but just once. I had one 24-hour period of living through a city being shelled, and I have never forgotten a second of it. And I had the privilege to leave that situation. These people do not. And so this is part of why I think it's so important. And here, particularly in the United States, we have our issues. We have significant issues, but we don't live through an episode where someone is shelling your neighborhood. And so this is why I felt like his story needed to be told. He's a father. So if you haven't seen that interview, I would ask that you do so. And then the more important question I think we need to ask is, and we're not seeing this on corporate media here in the United States, but there are legislative bodies around the world where representatives have already issued a referendum for a ceasefire, for autonomy for Gaza, for a statement that people in Palestine have a right to live, right? So that has happened from governments it first came out with Portugal, Ireland, Denmark, New Zealand. All of these places are doing it, but here we have over 400 representatives in our House, one chamber alone, zero, nothing has done. And all it is scribble it with a crayon on a piece of paper on the back of a napkin and submit it. Palestinians have a right to live. And that hasn't been done. And I keep asking the question, why? And I've already reached out to Jayapal. I've reached out to Jamal Bowman, AOC. I was calling offices all day long. I have not gotten a return call. Just asking a simple question. How are you working on it? Is the Progressive Caucus working on it? And if so, do you have intent to submit it? Can we read it? Has this already been done? What are you doing? And so far, crickets. So I would ask people, if you are so moved that you feel like children shouldn't be shot, which is happening now, maybe you call your representative or the Progressive Caucus members and say, hey guys, it's a real simple statement. You really only need a few sentences. Can you not write this down and submit it? And if you do submit it and it does not get entered into the record, like Pelosi's folks say, no, we're not going to do it, tell us. Let us know, because we are your backup. But
absolutely. And at this point, people talking about it in terms of a conflict, and there's pushback saying, no, this is genocide. Well, I happen to think that genocide isn't a strong enough word. I'm leaning more towards the word extermination, and that's what we're seeing right now. And we can't not do something as human beings to see other human beings being exterminated the way that they're being exterminated right now.
That's exactly right. And I would hazard people saying, okay, yes, we have these problems, particularly if you're a marginalized person in this country, minority. We have so much that is identical to what's going on there that you might feel like, so it happens everywhere. Well, let me tell you, I go back to that stupid TV show where the tagline, I don't know why it stuck with me, but save the cheerleader and save the world. Right. So this is the real life thing. Save the Palestinians, and then we save ourselves, because that is such a huge, heavy lift that once that's done, reforming every wrong in this country will be a piece of cake.
Absolutely. As soon as you start to look away from the mainstream media's grouping of people and calling the Palestinians, and start to think of them as individuals, as human beings, as mothers and fathers and children's, right? And standing up for their rights as human beings, it's a heck of a lot easier to do that everywhere, including Americans doing that in their own country. And that's how we start to make a difference and create a just society for everyone.
Right. So the other piece that's really big, not that we're running out of time here on this subject, and I am going to cover it in depth on Friday, so my apologies.
Right. But we'll just speak faster for the rest of the
show. So KRTD Media, thank you so much for reminding us. McDonald's are asking for a boycott today. The employees, not the franchise. So I need you to be a good ally today. And I know that there are a lot of people out there posting about animal rights and whatever. Shh. Today, shush, you are focused on the employees today. And we will take up your issue about animal cruelty and all the other stuff that is important to you. Today is for the people. So please do not go to McDonald's today. It's pretty simple. Just don't do something. So yeah, thank you so much, KRTD, for that. Good morning, Amber. Good morning. She says, good morning, my lovelies. And
good morning, Amber.
Good morning. And she said, that is so powerful because Americans are so separated from the atrocities committed in our name and around the world. She says, I was appalled to learn that the average median age in Palestine is 17.4 years. So they're bombing children on a daily basis. Yes. There is no both sides argument in this. It's not there. And for anyone who keeps going, Hamas, do you remember just a few short weeks ago where it was Antifa was the boogeyman for everything here? It's the same thing. And the reason they keep trotting out these tropes is because they work. And they only work if you accept it. So stop doing it.
Right.
So here is where we're going to get into a slightly different take on this, because I keep seeing people, it's easy to see all of this stuff, all of the things that are just so wrong, so horrific, and just tune out, right? And I saw it yesterday. I was watching another program that I will not name, where the the hosts were saying, yeah, this is why I checked out of electoral politics, because it doesn't matter. We rig our elections. And in my mind, I'm screaming. I'm like, that is exactly the reaction that you are supposed to have based on all of this stuff that is happening. They want you. They want you to check out because that means they can act with impunity, right? So
Absolutely.
in my head, I'm like the oil can Harry. We're like, nah, you're just great. I'm so thrilled that you're tuning out because now it gives me license to do all of this. And if you're looking across the pond at what's going on in with Zionists and Palestine, don't you think that we are just steps away from that here? And if you check out, what have you got? We are supposed to have two main tools at our disposal in this whole resistance. Number one, you out in the streets. Number two is the legal piece. And that is where electoral politics comes in. If you
Absolutely.
check out, you tied our hands behind our back.
Yes,
So-
yes. We've talked about that several times. We've
Yeah.
said that there is, a multi-pronged attack to making progressive policies come true. And that, of course, starts in the grassroots movement. But once you've demanded change, you still need the arbiters of the progressive policies in government to adopt those, or they get co-opted by the bad actors that are currently there, right? It's as important thing as the movement itself, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I need people to keep their eyes on that. And with that, our guest this morning, first, we are delighted to bring somebody who's willing and able to lead that fight by becoming a candidate. And if you've never run for office, it doesn't matter what level, that takes some guts. It really does, because it is a bloodless war. So we are delighted to welcome someone today who has stepped up and decided that they are going to take on this challenge of electoral politics. So good morning to you, Mr. Cunningham. How are you this morning?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Great.
We're fired up. We're ready to go.
And if I may, it would seem to me that the optimal color of the day is red.
Yeah. It's red and red, yellow, and black, at least.
That almost looks like it looks like the flag. Is that the flag of all? Okay, Maryland.
So it's actually a more unique design. It's a more unique take on the Maryland flag. It's a mix between the anarchist flag and the Maryland flag.
Oh.
So, you got the red swash here, and then of course you got the black, but then there's also the design here that comes from the Maryland flag. So, I made it myself, and, I was just trying to sort of showcase it here. Might use it as like a kind of a merch thing for my campaign.
Awesome. That is excellent.
Prototype, so.
Excellent. So what are you running for, Adam?
I'm running for Maryland State Senate in the District 39. That's encompasses like most of Germantown, I think. What else is there? Montgomery Village, I think pieces of Gaithersburg, a whole bunch of other unincorporated places. But yeah, it's a pretty big place.
It's a big area. Now, is this your first time running for office?
Yes, this will be my first time running.
So it always boggles the mind because every time I see the first time candidate running for federal office, I'm like, really? Based on what exactly? And I think it's because, my apologies to people who are watching because not you guys are smart. Most Americans are so ignorant of the civic process that they see the sexy piece of being on TV at a federal level. So here you chose something that is much more easily attainable, your state level race. Why would you do that?
So I was always of the mind that the best place to start to make real change is from the bottom up, whether that's, electorally or physically or however else, you always should start with a bottom-up approach. I can understand the draw of, wanting to go into federal politics, to try and make some really big, broad changes. But, as we've seen, if you get into federal politics, there's just this whole mess that kind of sweeps you away from your main goals. And it kind of, even if you have the best of intentions, you can still be led astray, especially when it comes to federal politics.
So is that a polite way of saying the political machine will sweep you up?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's also a good way to explain that any house that you build needs a strong foundation.
That's right. Yeah. And one thing about Maryland specifically is, from what I've heard, is that it's like a breeding ground actually for a lot of the policies that end up being, added to federal politics. So it's kind of like, a lot of the, neoliberal politics and policies that you see happening in federal politics, whether it's, tax policy or police reform, things like that. You can always sort of trace it back to the state politics here in Maryland. So one of the main reasons why I'm running is to sort of take hold of that, that strategy, and sort of instead of it being neoliberal policies, we're going to make it left policies, not just progressive policies, actual left-leaning, left-wing policies. And hopefully that'll be the standard that we will see in the future.
That's interesting, because you actually used the word neoliberal. That's like that is like the new N word in politics. You're not supposed to be saying that. Now you're running as a Dem. So how is that received?
Well, so far I haven't really gotten any pushback from it. I'm assuming just because I'm not really too much of a known factor in the state just yet. But I'm sure as time goes on, I will be receiving criticism from those who would disagree with the policy positions that I have. So, but I'm ready for it.
Okay, so let's talk about those policies. Let's talk about these horrific policies that a progressive would forward for Maryland. What's so bad about your policy?
So, so are you asking what?
Well, I that was unfair of me to ask that because it was super snarky. So let me back up a little bit. Why are you running for this? What is it you hope to achieve?
So there's actually a number of reasons why I'm running, but the simplest reason is because I got tired of the politics of as usual that we're all used to. The platitudes and the empty promises that we've all grown accustomed to, it basically pissed me off to the point where I thought, you know what? I'm going to get into office just so I can prove that it's literal bullcrap that they tell us that we can't have better things, or we have to wait for inordinate amounts of time for progress to occur while people are out there going hungry, being evicted, they're being homeless, they're homeless, destitute, being negatively impacted, or even dying from things that could have been entirely avoidable or prevented. If people in our state and local government specifically would just, nut up against the special interests, against the naysayers that think we shouldn't do anything, and just do something about the issues now. So that's basically the main reason why I'm running.
Okay, all right. So thank you for some clarity on that. And I did post a link to your website and to your Twitter account so that people can, check out more about what you're doing. But you and I spoke a little bit before the show about what is a progressive, and it's almost, so this is another term that the powers that be have tried to co-opt. So my question to you was, when you say progressive, are you a Nancy Pelosi progressive, or what does that mean? What does that mean exactly?
So I technically wouldn't even really consider myself a progressive, only because the term itself has been watered down so much because of people like Nancy Pelosi and who try to co-opt it and make it is and sort of hide behind that label. So you see people like Nancy Pelosi, they say she calls herself a progressive, and yet she is, supportive of Israel, or she's uh, supportive of Israel and the things that they're doing against Palestinians, and or she's not in favor of raising taxes on the rich as much as she should be, or she may have lip service, she may give lip service to it, but there's never any action. So a lot of people, when they hear the word progressive, when they hear that term, they think, oh, they're just going to be saying a lot of stuff. They probably think, woke language, things like that, and it really turns them off. What I consider myself to be is I'm a leftist. I would be a leftist candidate, and I would be a leftist politician. You can see, if people want to call me a progressive, I mean, I'm not going to stop them, but I call myself a leftist. And in terms of like my political ideology, I already kind of stated, it's kind of obvious with the shirt, but I am an anarchist. So,
So is there a possibility that towards the end of this conversation, we may be talking about labor theory of value at some point, maybe?
I mean, we could have a little discussion about it. I will admit that when it comes to like Marx and all the theories that he's had, I I've read a little bit about it. I know the basics, but it's that what I focus more on is direct action, mutual aid. So when it comes to that, I'm thinking people need help now. Let's go give them the help they need now. Let's do what we can to help where we can right now, rather than talk
and
about theory and this. That,
I
and the
agree, I agree completely. And I think that the one thing that people forget is that Marx in his writings were basically in the range of about 1850. So we can cut him a little slack if he got a few things wrong, and maybe Karl Marx's version of socialism isn't exactly what's going to work today in 2021. Right.
Yeah, I agree.
I would suggest one quick pushback is that Nancy Pelosi is progressive only because she is horrible and progressively getting worse.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
good
think
point.
that's fair.
Good point.
That's definitely fair. So Adam, I gotta ask, why then are you running as a Democrat?
So one of the things about Maryland specifically is that it's pretty much locked down entirely with Democrats. Like it's actually almost impossible for an independent or a third party candidate to really even get on the ballot. As a matter of fact, I think if I'm not mistaken, I remember seeing a tweet by somebody that I follow, and they were talking about how there were some uh, third parties that were not going to be on the ballot this year because they didn't get enough petition numbers, because the level had been raised since like 2020. And so now, instead of there being, I think there should be maybe like 3 or 4 third parties in this state, including the Green Party, which was founded in this state. The Green Party isn't going to be on the ballot because of the rules that they have. I think there was the PSL party that isn't going to be on the ballot this year because of the new rules. It's just a whole mess. So basically, I had no choice but to run as a Democrat. I do have a strategy though that I've been sort of contemplating for when I get into office to sort of fight back against that.
Well, I'm interested in
I
that
kinda don't
because
wanna-
I'm definitely interested because what is happening in Maryland is happening all across the country.
Oh yeah.
Particularly big topic of conversation is what is it, HR1, which is kind of like the Trojan horse, where it's funneling money and candidates to one of two parties, which is not democratic in any way, shape, or form. But that way it allows like the DNC, the corporate DNC, to control their primaries, which they said they already own outright wholesale, which is not democratic. But it hamstrings candidates and voices, does it not? I mean,
Oh
like you
yeah,
said,
it
you
definitely
couldn't run.
does.
Yeah.
Yeah. It definitely does hamstring voices, and the reason being is because it doesn't allow the variety of voices to be out there talking about the issues and allowing citizens, voters, the choice between the different opinions. You know, so like I said, when I get into office, I have a plan to um, to change that. One thing I was thinking of doing was, of course, instituting some bills, putting some legislation out that would make it easier for third parties to run. I would make it so that that no singular party could force another party to not, you know, they couldn't force the party to not be
On the ballot,
yeah, because that's just entirely undemocratic. And it's the Democratic Party. This is a democratic state, so how that's very hypocritical of the entire apparatus. So that's one thing. The other thing I would do personally, well, at least that's what I've been thinking of doing. I don't know if I should be saying this in public just yet, but I was planning on, changing my party affiliation once I got into office, just to, as a matter of protest, because, it's you see the issues with the Democratic Party, whether it's in federal politics or state and local politics, and you see how people try to fight it on the inside, and you don't get any headway because the leaders are bought by special interests. So they're the ones that they listen to. So we have to fight that by any and all means, using every method at our disposal. So one of those things would be to just change your party affiliation to independent or to a third party. I was thinking of maybe contacting some people that I might be friends with in politics, seeing if we could form like a coalition of sorts, and all change our party affiliations to like an independent or a third party of some sort, or do something. But we got to do something. That's really the big issue here.
Yeah, no, and I think you're onto something. Obviously, I have a little bit of a bias as an ex-Dem, now Green Party member, because we always hear the narrative about, well, Greens can't get elected, and there are over 1,200 Green Party members, third party members who have been elected to various levels of office. But then you're right, we see these policies at a state level because the states control elections, not the federal. States control it. And then so the party apparatus is changing the laws in the states to make it harder. But here's my question for you. And I'm pretty sure it's the same in Maryland, right? It is the state property holder, property taxes, that's your homeowner, all of those things that actually fund the electoral process, the primary and the general. So the taxes are coming from the state to pay for this process. The state residents own the process, and yet you have these two major parties who are laying claim to ownership of the process itself and how it's executed. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me, right? So that is socialism for these two corporate entities that we're funding, and they are, maintaining some sort of narrative and actual control.
Yeah, it's actually is really terrible. And politics really shouldn't be about partisanship. It should be about policies. That's what I believe. So when it comes to the policy positions, if you're good on those policy positions, then you should be allowed to be voted for, regardless of your party affiliation. So, but that's something that it's going to be a process, most definitely. But I will be one of the stronger people fighting for, I guess, partisan equality.
Nice. Oh, okay. So let's get into it a little bit, because you're not running for an open seat. You're actually going to be running against a longtime established Democrat who holds this current seat in District 39. Is that right?
Yep, that's right.
Okay. So Miss King, Nancy King, currently sits in the seat. She was appointed to this office. She had a couple challengers, nearly lost the seat. Why is it that you're running against her now? And do you think that you can prevail against an entrenched incumbent?
So the main reason why I'm running against her is because I live in the district and the seat is the election is coming up. That's like one of the biggest reasons. So, Nancy King, she's one of those standard politicians, you could say. She's like a I'm trying to find the right word for it. She's like, not like a nobody politician, but you know what I mean? Like,
nobody under the
really
radar.
Knows yeah, exactly.
Nothing will
really
fundamentally change.
Yeah. So like, you look at the news, Maryland news, you hear a lot about, all these different politicians, they got these bills that they put out, and they're always on TV and stuff talking about the bills that they want to get passed and stuff. You don't really see that too much with Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi, good Lord.
Oh.
Nancy King. Freudian slip, my bad. But you don't see her name out there a lot, despite the fact that she's a Senate Majority Leader. However, if you look into her history, you see that she is strong on many unimportant issues, such as expanding our highway system, things like that. And it's like, why are you strong on these issues, but you're not strong on things like police reform, not strong on things like the legalization of marijuana? You're not strong on issues that are popular among Marylanders right now, So it's like, with that all in mind, you see that, she's just there to sort of, I don't want to say she's there to just like collect a paycheck or whatever, but I mean,
So for those who are watching, I just posted a link to her legislative action. And in here, I am constantly repeating the refrain, it's not what you say, it's what you do. And you're right, as I was going through the list of it, there's a lot of performative, safe legislation. Don't rock the boat. Let's worry about our next election, all of that sort of thing. So we did have a question. Amber she wants to know, and this ties into the subject, what do you see as the highest priority for Maryland right now? Is it a post office renaming?
No. There's actually a lot of things that are a top priority right now. But the thing about it is, we can actually tackle all of these issues simultaneously. We can walk and chew gum at the same time. And that's one of the reasons why I was running for office, because I know that we can do these things, and I want to prove that by getting into office and showing not just the people, but also the officials in office right now that think that, we've got to take this one incremental step here and this one incremental step there, and too bad we ran out of time for this legislative session. No, we can do it all right now. We will be staying in this state house until all these bills that need to be passed are passed. Like, it's that simple. So for example, we got the what is it? The tenant eviction crisis that still is a thing. Despite the fact that, the CDC saying that, masks and all that stuff, despite the fact that our governor, Larry Hogan, is trying to reopen the state and get everybody back into work and this, that, and the other thing, we still got people who are unemployed. We still got people who are way behind on rent because they lost their job last year and they were barely making ends meet with the job that they had. And then we got the little piddly unemployment insurance. And, so these bills, these things, they're all racking up and nobody's trying to do anything about it. As a matter of fact, I think, I'm trying to remember, there was a specific bill. I think it was House Bill, what was it? House Bill, I can't remember the name, but it was basically a tenant relief bill, and it was passed in the House. And yet when it was brought to the Senate, they didn't even vote for it. They didn't even bring it. They didn't try to do anything about it, but they passed all these other seemingly meaningless bills, about renaming a street or something like that. I was looking at the last day of the legislative session, and they were passing a whole bunch of bills, and they were doing it through roll call and all that, and it was just like, okay, but where's the important bills? Where are the important bills? Why are these not the ones that are being passed immediately? Why are these not the ones that are being passed quickly because people need help right now? Why is the marijuana legalization bill, which was passed in the House, I think twice so far, in 2020 and in 2021 in the House, why is that not being passed in the Senate? And then, being brought to Hogan so he can veto it, and then we can vote for it again.
Wait a second. So I want to clarify. Did you say that your upcoming opponent, Nancy King, is the Senate Majority Leader?
Yeah, she's the state Senate Majority.
Oh,
Leader,
so it would be her that would put these things on the calendar and bring them up, and she is not doing that. So that's a big deal. If you have somebody who claims to be a Democrat, claims to be a representative of the people, and you have these pieces of legislation coming before you for just consideration, and you're not allowing them to happen, you're not allowing them to be introduced, that you are the obstacle. So that's huge. Okay, so now I can see why you're running against Nancy. So let me ask you a question. Based on what I'm hearing here, it sounds like you don't understand how politics works because you're not thinking ahead to your reelection, right? You're saying things that are damn near guaranteed to make sure that the political donor class will not allow you to serve 2 terms. Are you okay with that?
Oh yeah, most definitely. So I was never one to think about going into politics. I think when I really started getting into it was back in 2015, early 2016, when Bernie Sanders was running for president. That's actually when I first started really getting into politics. I mean, beforehand, I was just voting because my mom told me to vote and stuff. So, I was like, okay, yeah, sure, I'll vote for whoever you tell me to. I don't care. But then Bernie Sanders came onto the scene and I was like, wow, okay, he's got these really good ideas. These are really important ideas. They would help my family, I know for a fact. And so, yeah, I want him to be president. And then, everything happened in 2016. And then I was like, okay, you know what? Politics sucks. So I kind of fell out again, but then I got back into it a little bit afterwards. I was still in politics at that point. Once you get into politics, it's really hard to get out, as we're all aware.
It's kind of like Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. Once you get a Twitter account, you can't just leave Twitter. But so I started doing my own little bit of research about policies and things like that. I had my own political awakening about all sorts of stuff. I was the BS of the system that we live in became more and more apparent as time went on. And I think in 2017, 2018, I got really back into electoral politics when Ben Jealous announced his gubernatorial campaign. And I was really into that. I was really excited for him to become our governor because I was like, oh snap, okay, he's like kind of lefty, he's got really good policy positions, and I know that he's going to be a good governor, if he ends up winning. And then, let me just say it. The Maryland Democratic Party literally screwed him over when he won the primary, and it was absolutely insane what they did. And anybody trying to deny it at this point, the evidence is there. They held back the main top party officials. They held back on endorsing him until like a month before the general election. There was barely any infrastructure to help him out with canvassing and things like that. It was just absolutely terrible. And I was like, wow, okay, they're treating Ben Jealous like they treated Bernie Sanders in 2016. This is the same thing, except it's on the state level now. And it's like, okay, mm-hmm. And then so I think in 2018, that was when I like checked out of electoral politics. I think we've all been there.
Yeah, so what is your plan then? Because if this can happen to somebody like Ben Jealous, and I was keyed into that race because I knew a bunch of the organizers who are working with them, and boy, the stories behind the scenes, let me tell you, it was ugly. So mm-hmm. Here you are, a virtual nobody. What's your plan? What are you going to do with this?
So one of the things that I think I have an advantage in is that I can actually talk to people. Like, despite me being not a known fact, I think, well, one of the things is Nancy King, she's kind of a nobody as well, in this district. I think if I go to any of one of my neighbors right now and I say, hey, do you know who your state senator is right now? They'll probably be like, who? No? What? Who is that? And I'll be like, okay, her name is Nancy King and she's the Senate Majority Leader. Or they'll be like, oh, wow, that's crazy. I had no idea. Like, she's like not a known factor in this district at all. And the reason for that is because that, she's never really ran in this district except for when she ran for delegate, and that was almost a decade ago. So it's like, she's just kind of been a fixture in the Senate rather than an actual like known politician. So
you could do an entire campaign with her picture on a milk carton. Just have you seen your rep? Where is she?
Yes, my opponent is so two-dimensional.
Exactly.
Pretty much. Mm-hmm. So it's just like, that's kind of that's kind of the advantage I'm going for here. She's not really that popular, and even if she was known, I have a feeling that people wouldn't really like her because of the fact that she just doesn't really stick out, and she's not a strong politician on any of the issues. She just plays it safe. She's like a standard Democratic politician. She votes on the safe. She votes for the safe bills. She votes for safe legislation. If she has any legislation that she wants to put out, usually it's very minor, very incremental. It's nothing that's super that will actually be of great benefit to huge swaths of people in Maryland. And so, that's what she would. I don't even know. I don't even know if she.
You're being how so she polite. Would. So polite.
I'm trying to find the right words, but I don't want to be too mean, because it's. That's the other thing I don't really like about politics, the whole mudslinging and that.
I think you were probably more accurate when you referred to her as Nancy Pelosi King.
Right.
Right. Okay, so Adam, you have a long haul here. When is your primary?
It's on June 28th next year.
Okay.
So I got a good amount of time until then. Yeah.
Well, you're going to need every moment to build this kind of coalition that it will take to prevail against an entrenched, safe incumbent. So, how can people get involved and help you? Like, and I just want to stress to everybody who's watching, this is not, you don't have to be local to help a candidate. If you've got skills and talents and all of these things, and we've seen it from the Sanders campaign, it's grassroots momentum wherever you are. Technology, hello, will allow you to reach into any area. So how can people get in touch with you and help you out in this endeavor?
So if you go on my webpage, it's adamformaryland.com. There is a contact us page. You can use that to contact me via email. I also have, of course, a Twitter account. You can send me DMs or, at me specifically, and we can talk like that. I'm 100% open to anybody who wants to talk to me about helping out, about volunteering, about donating, all that stuff. One of the interesting things about how I've been really trying to structure my campaign is I've been trying to make it as horizontal as possible, meaning it's not just me that is running the campaign. It would be me and everybody else who wants to hold a significant interest in getting me elected, because I'm there to represent the people rather than be a politician. Excuse me. I'm there to push the policies that the people want, not the policies that I want, or the policies that special interest donors would want. Like I'm not interested in any sort of like real estate PAC money, or there's like well, I don't want to go there.
Yeah,
we won't talk about Nancy King's donors.
That sounds suspiciously like democracy.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I've got one quick question, and I shouldn't have left it so late, but I just wanted to ask Adam that I went on to your website and I noticed that you're an advocate for the UBI, or people don't understand the universal basic income. Here on Hair of the Dog, we are modern monetary theory friendly. And I specifically am the producer of a podcast called Macro and Cheese, which is a MMT-based macroeconomic look at how federal governments finance one another. And I just wanted to ask you quickly so if you know who Stephanie Kelton is, or have read her famous book, The Deficit Myth, and how you felt about modern monetary theory.
Oh yeah, I'm a strong proponent of a modern monetary theory. I understand that the United States is a sovereign country with our own sovereign fiat currency. We can print as much money as we need to pay for whatever we need. All we got to do is just adjust taxes just enough so that we don't inflate too much, and then we're good. But the funny thing about it is, anybody who talks negatively about it, usually they're the ones who understand that it's entirely possible for us to do that. They just don't want us to, and they can never explain why. So
or at least don't want to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they don't want us to understand why, and that's why the theory, the MMT in and of itself, isn't a theory that you hear people talk about too much. They try to suppress it as much as they can.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah.
So I will end my little point here about MMT by giving you a homework assignment. And I have a visual here. This is a highly recommended book, A Case for a Job Guarantee. It is a critique of why it is a better concept than a universal basic income, and why it works better and actually paves the way for better policy and a more just society economically and just psychologically in the United States and around the world, especially at a time right now where we need it. So I'm just holding this up so you can see
Mhm.
it, see what it looks like. And then if you do end up reading it, and then maybe perhaps in the future, you and I can have a conversation about that and see how the two
Okay.
policies can actually work together.
Yeah, sure, definitely. And I should have said this as well. I am all for a jobs guarantee as well. In fact, when Bernie Sanders proposed it back in, I think his most recent campaign for president,
Right.
I was all for it, you know. And when I do want to clarify though, when I mean what I mean when I say I'm for a UBI, I'm not just for universal basic income as it is explained by people like Andrew Yang or
Good.
proponents
That
of
that
Andrew
warms
Yang.
the cockles of my heart. You and you say.
Yeah, I'm more for an unconditional basic income, meaning it's supplemental to all other social safety net benefits that you may be getting. There's no way for it to be taken away from you because you get, like, for example, Social Security, or you get unemployment insurance or things like that. It goes to everyone regardless of their income, regardless of any other factors that may be, and that's it. It should just be that simple. And then that on top of the jobs guarantee, it ensures that people are working. It ensures that we have full employment. This, that, and the other thing. Boom, bam, shazam, we're good.
Well, that works too. And the UBI, there's should also be an equal amount of discussion about what we call UBS, which is Universal Basic Services, right?
Okay.
Which
Yeah.
allows services to be free of charge to people that need the services, for whatever reason, and that goes in it with nicely with a basic income and a job guarantee. So those are all things that we can talk about in the future if we get a chance to.
Oh,
Okay,
Adam's
yeah,
coming
definitely.
back. You're coming back, right?
Oh yeah, sure. If
Okay.
yeah, you invite me, I will be there.
Right, because when Andy brought up the UBS, where that's things like public transportation, getting rid of the fees, right? And we saw
Yeah,
this.
and I'm sorry.
No,
'cause
please go ahead. We're getting excited now.
Yeah, because one of the biggest things that I've been talking about since I started my campaign is about expanding our public transit system in Maryland, because you see that it expands all the way down to DC, and then it goes up to certain parts in Montgomery County specifically, and then it goes to uh, a lot of the metropolitan areas and counties in Maryland, but it doesn't go far enough. And there's been a whole bunch of studies out there that shows that the commute for different areas, like in Charles County, which is one of our southern counties, and St. Mary's County, which is another southern county in Maryland, close to Virginia, I think they said it's like an hour or more. And I have actual personal history with that. My mom used to be a real estate agent, and when we used to live down in Charles County, it used to take her an entire hour just to drive from where we lived in Indian Head all the way up north to not even really up north, just to PG County, over in Allentown Road. I'm just saying this for anybody who might know what I'm talking about. Or on Allentown Road. And it used to take us a whole hour just to drive up there. It took an hour for her to drive to work. Then she would have to drive to the houses, and then she would have to drive home. And that was hours upon hours upon hours of commute for her. And it was insane. And nothing has changed since then. And I was maybe like 9, 10, maybe when that was the thing. It's absolutely insane. So my plan is to expand our public transit system, expand our metro system specifically, so that it reaches places like northern Frederick County, which is above Montgomery County. It reaches places, and it connects with the Baltimore rail system. and it reaches places down in Charles County, and it reaches places in like in St. Mary's County. It even goes eastward towards Annapolis. We have to start these things now, especially given the fact that people are starting to come out more. You know, we got the mask mandate is being lifted and stuff. People are starting to move around more. We have to make sure that these things are done now, so that these problems are taken care of, and we don't have people worrying about things and going back to the way things were, because things have changed. The pandemic really revealed a lot of things, a lot of problems in the system that we have right now. And so we should be, we should have been doing a lot more in terms of fixing things while everybody was stuck inside. But, they weren't. But I know for a fact that if when I get into office, things are going to change for the better. So
absolutely. So thank you again, Adam. We are so over time. So I want to thank Adam Cunningham and Carl for being so good during this whole interview. If you didn't notice, Carl's in the background there. So
little sleepy boy.
Yeah. So Adam, thank you so much for joining us. And we definitely want to have you back and keep tabs with your upcoming election. You've got a long way to go, but so much work ahead of you, and we wish you the best of luck. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Yeah, it was absolutely a pleasure talking to you. Good luck against Nancy P. King. We're looking forward to seeing some good results from that. Carrie, wonderful interview. Thank you so much. Everyone out there, thank you so much for joining us. It's our pleasure to bring you our show today. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, and we will see you bright and early on Friday morning. Take care.
We bout that, ayy. We in the zone, we out here, yeah. Spitting the facts, how it's supposed to be. Habit the dog, we keeping it G.